Hi, this is Chantel Gray. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Romanticism. This is just going to be a brief introduction, and then you guys can talk more about it amongst yourselves. So, Romanticism, we're talking the end of the 18th century, like 1800 to 1850 or so. Some of the key components of the Romantic period for art, literature, music, etc., is really a focus on emotion, on individualism, past and nature. They really liked the medieval period. This is where we kind of get a focus on the Gothic, and I think the more recent Gothic movement is kind of a romantic movement as well. Romantics tended to look to the dark side, to the emotion, to feelings, and really focusing on there. One of the big things with the Romantic period is that it's a reaction to both the Age of Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution. Everybody's moving into the cities and into their heads and thinking about, logic and being in the box, both literally in towns and also figuratively, thinking about like how we should function as people and how things should be and why things are what they are. And I think the Romantics kind of wanted to break away from that and get into ideas of emotion and valuing intuition. This is the time of Sturm and Drang, which really focuses on intuition. And yeah, let's look at a couple pieces and we'll talk about them. Real quick, just for some contrast, I'm going to show you a neoclassical piece. This is one by Jacques-Louis David. Even though it is an emotional moment and very heightened, you can see that some of the focus is on technical beauty. The shadows are very elegant. It's very beautifully composed. It's got a nice sense of line and embracing. It embraces the past, but it embraces the Greco-Roman past. Not so much the overgrown, weedy, medieval sort of past. This, in comparison, is a romantic piece. This is Delacroix, and the piece is Liberty Leading Her People to Victory. And it's we're in revolutionary times, the French Revolution, and that strong sense of fighting for what's right. You can see here, I mean, it's still a beautifully composed picture, but it's much less coloring inside the lines. It's a little more free, and it's a little more about the emotion and the angst of the moment. There's also a lot more focus on death and gore in the Romantic period. Here's another painting. This one is by Géricault, and again you can see that like storms and weather are a big focus of the Romantic period. The Romantics also valued other cultures, or at least their perception of other cultures. They saw indigenous peoples as being noble and better and more beautiful because they are not stuck in the cities. They're not part of the Industrial Revolution. They also valued storms and nature and the power that's in that, appreciating how great it all is, and how relatively small and insignificant we are, even though we may try to logic things out and create machinery, etc. When it comes down to it, we're relatively small. This period also focuses a lot on the occult and on psychology. It's a pretty interesting period. You can see here in the valuing of nature, this is a Bierstadt. He is a pretty major romantic painter. He traveled and he did romanticized scenes of nature, taking what nature gives us and sort of heightening it. I mean, this is sort of a mixture of environs. I couldn't find the one of the view over Riverton. There's one that's similar to this that he painted in Wyoming, complete with waterfalls and soft lighting. But this is a romantic painting. You've got the animals, you've got the clouds, you've got the strong, powerful mountains. It's very romantic, very celebrating nature. And here we have another romantic painting, sunsets and waves and storms, all very romantic for the subject matter. Again, not coloring in the lines, still visually depicting scenes that are recognizable, but they're much more emotional in nature rather than logical. A few other things from this period to discuss are the literature at this time. We've got Edgar Allan Poe and Nathaniel Hawthorne, much more focus on the occult, on psychology, on emotion. Lord Byron and Bobby Burns are poets at this time. Also, this is the height of opera. Opera is being developed into its own art form. And operas are, they're sung throughout, but they're powerful and emotional and bold, not reserved and quiet and contemplative. Other music at this time includes the music of Beethoven and Chopin and Liszt. Again, very emotional type music. Yeah. Oh, and here's one more painting for you. I like this one. This is by a German painter named Friedrich. And again, you can see this sort of composition of the storm, the sea, and that, I guess, or up at the top of a peak with the clouds. But it's very much that sense of not so much man versus nature, but man and his place in nature and how powerful nature is, in that sort of romantic sense that it's not something to be controlled or won over. Interesting time. And with that, I will call this one done. Have a great one.